Okay, here we are, Tea Time with Olive. Welcome to the show. I'm
Thank you,
here
Olive.
with Mr. Dan Siegel, and I wasn't kidding about my tea. I am a tea drinker. So I should take a sip. Bad luck. All right, Mr. Dan. So let's talk about Oakland. First, more than anything, let's have our audience hear about you, who you are, and what you do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mainly I'm a civil rights lawyer. I've been here working in Oakland since 1973 when I finished law school and became an attorney. I have an office in downtown Oakland. It's called Siegel and Yee. We have 8 lawyers. We work hard to protect people's rights.
Right.
Also, I'm very active in local politics. I ran for mayor in 2014.
You sure did.
And this year I'm working with the Oakland Justice Coalition.
Okay.
We have 4 great candidates for the Oakland School Board who we are supporting. And we have 3 candidates for the Oakland City Council whom we are supporting.
Right.
So we're really trying to make some change in the city.
Absolutely, for the best. Now, do you want to give out some names of these seats that they're running?
Oh, sure. Okay,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, for City Council, we have Noni Session, who's running in District 3. She is pretty new to politics. She's a very smart woman, native of West Oakland, 3rd generation West Oakland person. So she's running in District 3. We have Rebecca Kaplan, who is an incumbent, who is running at large, and we're supporting her because we want to see her elected. And we also have, as I mentioned, 4 school board candidates. We have Don McClay in District 1. We have Karishi Wigington in District 3. We have Mike Hutchinson in District 5. And are we having technical problems?
Right, we're hearing that there's no sound, so we're good. Right.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It's okay. And then we have Chris Jackson in District 7.
Okay.
So we're working hard for all of these
District
candidates.
7?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Wow. What area is District 7?
District 7 is considered to be the furthest east part of East Oakland.
Okay.
But it's a slice of the city that goes from the hills all the way to the bay.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I don't think I've checked that District 7. Okay, so you're doing some of these activities with the council members too. And what are you asking for people's help? What are you asking? What can they do?
Well, as you can imagine, our candidates don't have the big money that the incumbents have. The incumbents are supported by the developers, the people who are enjoying the status quo, who are making lots of money and really don't want to see any change. So we depend on small contributions from voters and from activists in the city, but most of all, we depend on people working for these campaigns. As I mentioned before, we have our organization now. It's called the Oakland Justice Coalition. People can check out our website, Oakland Justice Coalition, and there are opportunities to volunteer, opportunities to make contributions, ways to contact all the candidates that we're supporting.
And I'm going to say this, if you're an Oaklander, if you have a passion for Oakland, if you want to bring changes, then you need to get out and do some volunteer work. I mean, I literally did it, and I'm not from Oakland, but I do have a passion for Oakland. So I was a volunteer for one of the candidates that was running for mayor, and I learned so much about Oakland, but then it opens a lot of doors for you. You get to learn more about your city, and you get to learn that, and there's a lot of help out there for almost everybody, whatever your needs are. And there was a lot of events that was happening at the city hall that people could actually come and get their voice heard. But I see a lot of people don't get involved, but they do complain, which doesn't help. And and there's a lot of businesses that are moving to Oakland, right? I mean, downtown is just beautiful. I mean, what can they do to even support and help? Because they're developing their business there, especially when it comes with policing and the security and this and that.
Well, Olive, I think right now we are sort of in a situation where there's a debate about Oakland's future, right? And there are really two different visions of Oakland's future. One vision is that the development continue as it's been going on for maybe 10, 15 years, that you're building a lot of expensive housing. Wealthier people, primarily white people, are moving to Oakland. People of color, particularly African Americans, are being pushed out. They can't afford to live here. So to me, one vision of Oakland is that it becomes Walnut Creek West. Which is what I say to people.
That's where I'm from.
If you like Walnut Creek, then you should support the status quo in Oakland.
Definitely, and I guess that's why I'm doing it.
But the other vision is one where we say, look, one of the things, some of the many things that are great about Oakland have to do with its diversity. That we have no majority national race in Oakland. We have obviously substantial number of white people. We have African Americans. We have Latinos, Hispanics. We have people from many different countries in Asia, and that makes Oakland an exciting place. You raise children, and they have the experiences of interacting with all kinds of people. Of course, you have all the food and the music that's associated.
All these festivals. It's just you walk around, you see all kind of people. Really, definitely, it's a warm city.
And that's what we should do. We should try to maintain that diversity, and of course, improve housing, improve safety, improve education. But let's keep Oakland a unique place and not have it just become like so many other cities and towns across the country. And I think that people in City Hall primarily they're too obsessed with development. Big developers come in, they want to build condos, they want to knock down people's houses and build more expensive housing. And the people at City Hall think that's great. And they're wrong. They really are wrong. We need to definitely improve the city, but also to fix the problems that are here.
The problems, they could do that later once they take care of their problems that's keep growing, unfortunately. There's a lot of shooting. There's a lot of, those are the things that needs to be addressed. I mean, Oakland is unfortunately the most popular city when it comes to news. Not good news.
Not good news. Sure. Well, you have to ask yourself, why do we have that? Why do we have so much crime? And I think we have the crime because of poverty. There are so many people who don't have a way to make a living, don't have a job, don't have a decent place to live, and they get caught in kind of a cycle of antisocial behavior, if you want to call it that. People become involved with drugs. In order to support their drug habits, they become involved in burglaries and robberies and things like that.
Of course. And I just remember even last year, just driving around certain part of Oakland, there's not a whole bunch of activities for people, for teenagers to do. There's not a whole lot of basketball courts. There's not a lot of parks. So what did they do? They just walk around. Literally, they just walk around and they do what they're good at. And sometimes they're just following the gangs, and it's almost sad because every corner that you cross the street, you see, on two parts, there's some balloons and some candles. I mean, as a child, what is that going through your head? Is that going to be for me one day, or when I grow up, should I join this gang or that gang? Because they're looking out for their own safety. So they need to. If they could bring some activities to East Oakland, probably, what would be some of the things that you could do for that part?
Well, that's the key question, right? And I think it starts with education. Education is so important for people's future. Absolutely. In fact, if you're looking at this presidential election, right, and you ask yourself, well, who are Trump supporters, right? The people who support Trump unfortunately, are white guys whose education ended at high school, right?
They're just business owners.
Or less, you know, in terms of their economic status, but they're not very educated. They don't really understand what's going on.
No.
And he comes and he makes all these accusations, and he says, well, you know, blame the Mexicans for the problems, or blame the Muslims or people from other countries. And there's a certain part of the population that's not well educated that goes along with these kinds of arguments. And you see people who are educated, and also particularly women and people of color, oppose these arguments. So it really tells you what we have to do as a society in terms of improving education. But getting down to Oakland, right? Unless children in East Oakland and West Oakland have an opportunity for good education, they're going to really be behind as they go forward in life. And it's proven that the best program to deal with these issues is preschool. It's absolutely proven that if we provide strong preschool programs for all 3- and 4-year-olds, get them started reading and doing numbers, but also started in an atmosphere where children learn to get along with each other, learn to socialize, then they'll be prepared when they go to school when they're age 5 or so on. So, and this is one area where the city and the school district should be working together. You know, and when I ran for mayor, I said this was one of the most important things we can do. I still think it's one of the most important things we can do. And that would just make a world of difference. You see the children who have a good education are going to be much more successful as they go through life. So I think that's issue number one. Issue number 2 in Oakland is housing. The housing prices are ridiculous, where you know the average one bedroom costs over $2,000 a month.
It is very expensive.
I mean, there are so many people who don't even earn $2,000 a month, much less are able to pay for an apartment or a small house. So the city needs to be aggressive and to commit itself to building affordable housing. There's a lot of vacant land in Oakland that is owned either by the city or by the county or by the school district. Okay, so this is property that's available. This property should be used for affordable housing. There's a really great model for doing that called creating land trusts, where you create an organization. It's like a nonprofit corporation. Whoever owns the property could put it into the land trust. If you are the land trust, what you do is you use the value of the property as capital to borrow construction costs, so you can build affordable housing and make it available to people with modest incomes. And it's terrific. And you know, certainly for people who are being priced out of their housing, but also you could target some of it, for example, for school teachers, because school teachers don't make enough money to buy these days. And we want to attract people to be good school teachers and have it possible for them to live in the city.
Now, the city does have money, though, right? The city has money, but they're choosing to use it for more development, right?
The city budget at this point is over 50% police. If you include the police department, the fire department, and the interest that the city is paying on its debt, it's well over 70%, closer to 80%. So that means that there's very little money left for discretionary programs, or even to fix the streets, or keep the parks open, or maintain the libraries and things like that. So the city has to become creative in developing new sources of revenue if it wants to provide these services, as well as decreasing some of the expenditures it already has. And one of those areas, frankly, is policing. Put aside for a second the fact of the salaries of police officers. Oakland spends approximately $10 million every year to pay settlements and judgments for police misconduct. Now, to me, that's a total waste of money, right? If the police would learn and be disciplined to respect people's rights,
Right.
then we wouldn't have all these cases, and we
Right.
could use the money for something else.
Right,
You know?
right. So there's a lot of money being expended there, and the sad thing is that things are getting worse every day. You hear something new every day.
Mhm.
So obviously it's not working.
Right.
So they need to have some kind of changes in there. And what would I know you already discussed about some of the areas that's needed. That I mean, right now because of elections, because of all these seats, what do you think some of, especially from some of, let's say, District 5 and 6, some of these council members that already, I don't know what, I forgot, what district was the ones that, was it 5 and 6 too, or no?
The four that are up this year, 1, 3, 5, and 7.
Okay.
The odd number districts,
Okay.
plus the at-large, the
Okay.
one at-large city council seat.
Okay, okay.
So, but if you look in districts 5 and 7,
Right.
kind of what we're talking about,
Right.
there's a lot of vacant land.
Right.
And if that land could be used for affordable housing
Mhm.
instead of market rate housing for,
Right.
basically for wealthy people,
Right.
we could improve the housing we have in the city and
Right.
keep people who are being pushed out from being
Mhm.
pushed out.
Mhm.
You know, 15 years ago,
Mhm.
Oakland was 42% African American.
Right.
Now it's like 26%.
Wow.
It's amazing. Just,
Wow.
and people are being forced out,
Mhm.
either because
yeah,
of
because they can't afford it.
right. They're either renters,
Mhm.
right, and the rents have gone up too much,
Mhm.
or for homeowners, developers are coming
Mhm.
in and they knock on your door
Mhm.
and say, "Do you want to sell your house?" People
Right.
say, "No, I don't want to sell my house."
Mhm.
And they say, "Well, how about if I gave you
Mhm.
a check for $150,000 right
Right.
now?" You know,
Right.
and a lot of people find that hard to resist, of course.
Right.
And then the developers will buy the property,
Mhm.
either knock down the house and put
Mhm.
up a new one,
Mhm.
or just fix it up a little bit,
Right.
and within a year,
Mhm.
they'll sell it for twice what they paid for it,
Right.
which is, you know,
Yes.
it's ridiculous. And
Mhm.
the city is not taking steps it could take to
Mhm.
deal with that problem.
Mhm.
In San Francisco, a couple of years
Is
ago,
that because the city thinks it's not a bad idea? Maybe they think that this would be better for Oakland? Is that what they're doing? It seems like it, because I think the hate crime is it's increasing even more, and the policing is horrible. So I could see that one of the focus that the city really doesn't have is for the people of color to move out of Oakland. I don't think they see that's an issue.
they don't see it's a problem.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, I think part of it is leadership too.
Mhm.
You know, it's the mayor
Mhm.
and her staff, right,
Mhm.
the city administrator and the
Right.
rest of them, who are supposed to come to the council with
Mhm.
ideas,
Right.
right? Say, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do
Mhm.
that?
Mhm.
For example,
Mhm.
you can discourage
Mhm.
people from, what they call flipping houses,
Right.
buying property and then selling it
Mhm.
quickly again, by increasing the real estate transfer tax,
Right.
increasing it a lot.
Mhm.
So that would make it less profitable
Mhm.
to buy and flip houses, and will slow down that process.
Mhm.
They were considering a measure like that in San Francisco 2 years
Right.
ago. They didn't pass it.
Mhm.
Seems to me like it was a very good
Good
idea.
idea. That is a good idea, actually. And I have to say that when it comes to leadership in Oakland, and I think a lot of people have that issue with Oakland, and almost everybody complains about the leadership.
Mhm.
So what would be some of the things that you could bring a change, a difference? I know you're supporting a lot of the council members that are running. And do you have a list of things that are you working on, or where is this going to go, basically?
Well, each of the council members has his or her own
Mhm.
priorities,
Right,
but our organization,
Mhm.
the Oakland Justice Coalition,
right.
has been helping people with the campaigns, and also proposals we think are most important.
Right.
So housing is, I think, number one.
Okay,
Improving the schools, including preschools.
right.
Improving the policing situation, right? we need to get a chief who has a 21st century philosophy about policing,
Right.
On the one hand, and on the other hand, will be a very strict disciplinarian in terms of making sure that the police officers and the department follows the rules.
Right.
You know, I mean, Chief Wendt seemed to be doing a pretty good job on a lot of areas, but because of the situation with the young woman who was being sexually exploited by officers, and his failure to deal with that as chief, he lost his job,
Wow.
right? And
Well, he didn't do his job right.
he didn't do his job
It's
right.
nothing
I mean,
personal. He didn't do his job right.
exactly. And we need a chief who will hold everyone accountable
Right.
and will set a model to make sure that the officers respect people's rights and behave professionally. And then, you know, there's the whole issue of jobs and job creation and filling jobs with Oakland residents, right? So, for, you know, one example is that there's all this work that's going on at the port. And we have development taking place there and construction taking place. The people who are doing that work are not being held responsible to hire Oakland residents. And that's, you know, that's part of the problem. I'm not against anyone who needs a job, who wants a job, but if city resources and other public resources are going into assist certain construction developments, then the city should be able to determine who benefits from that.
Right.
And it should be Oakland people. The other thing is, and you know, particularly young people of color are not benefiting from all the nice things that are going on downtown. If you go into those nice restaurants, which I do, I enjoy them, but all the people, especially in the front of the restaurant, the waiters and waitresses and the host and hostess, they're almost all white.
Right.
You know, you don't see an African American.
And we made a comment that came, excuse me.
Sure.
We were walking downtown with a friend of mine last week, and for a second we forgot that we were in Oakland.
Yeah,
We
oh yeah,
really
so
did.
here we are in Walnut
Yeah,
Creek, right?
Yeah, we're like,
all
oh,
over
we're in
again.
Oakland.
Right.
It has changed, yeah.
It really
has
is.
changed.
But again, we have to be creative. You know, we have at Laney College, right? There's kind of a culinary institute there.
Right.
When I was running for mayor, I spoke to some of the people who are running these nice new restaurants,
Right.
and I asked them if they would be willing to work with the Culinary Institute at Laney to help train young people from Oakland, particularly African American and Latino, Hispanic young people, for good jobs in these new restaurants. And the restaurant owner said, great, it's a great idea. We'd be happy to help.
Wow.
But it takes leadership from the city
Right.
to make this
to
happen.
organize all that.
Exactly.
You know, we have myself with a good friend of mine, Salma Shams. She's a designer, and her line, it's called Prema Geema. And what she does, we have our manufacturers here in Oakland for 5 years, but we want to make it bigger and more available for women, and we're willing to train them. We're willing to train them and teach them to, you know, to how to sew and how to have a job and learn leadership, because it's all about woman empowerment. And
Right.
we're willing to do that. But again, I was telling her the system in Oakland is just, I don't know how it is. They're just not, sometimes you have a perfect piece of pie for them, but still they won't take it.
Right.
I don't understand why, you know.
You know, there's just a long history at City Hall
Right.
of people kind of not being creative, not pushing themselves.
I don't understand
to
the
do things.
politics of Oakland, I think, you know. I mean, look at not far, look at Raiders. How much they're going up and down with Raiders.
Right.
And at one point, I'm even a witness of it, that I was working with a group of people that I brought a group of people, and we set up meetings with the mayor's office and with the staff, because these developers actually had the money to even pay Raiders to even remodel and rebuild the Coliseum, and that's what they needed, or build the Coliseum city. But again, it didn't go anywhere. The
Right.
money was there, so I didn't see what was the problem.
You know, leadership, talent, priorities, determination. I mean, frankly, I'm disappointed and a little bit surprised that Mayor
You
Schaaf.
get discouraged too a little bit, you know, because it's unusual. So much.
And, you know, the mayor's a smart woman. Campaign, she talked about this thing I talked about, and how much
Hasn't. Unfortunately, there I definitely see comfort.
Yeah.
You know, potholes are still there. There's a big issue about the potholes, but they're still there. You know, and you haven't really seen. I mean, they do a little bit of work, just enough to show it in media, I think, but that's about it. It also almost sometimes it makes me feel like they just do enough for the news to see it and they videotape it, and then I feel like they walk away as soon as the cameras are gone.
Right.
It doesn't even either the job doesn't get complete, or again not in all part of Oakland, but in certain part of it.
Oh, sure.
And as far as the businesses, most businesses do come from other cities to Oakland, right? They follow the rule. What is it? We're supposed to live at least 2 years, or I remember there was some kind of policy that before they could open their business, right? Or they could buy. I forgot their policy.
Yeah, I think if you want to buy something,
Right.
you have a right to buy it.
Business.
You don't have to.
Okay, so
be
that's
there
why
for
they're pushing everyone else out, because all these new businesses that are coming. I mean, like you said, that downtown is beautiful. The restaurants, we enjoy it, we go in bed. Unfortunately, it's to the limit that not a lot of people could afford it.
Right.
To even to eat there, or to even go living, forget it, the rent is too high, but to even just to go enjoy that area, it's not for everybody.
Right.
It's only built for a certain group of people.
And it's still very uneven. I mean, my office is in city center on 14th Street, and there's a substantial number of empty stores. And if you go up Broadway or Telegraph, there's still a lot of empty stores.
Right.
So there has to be more work put in to attract businesses and
Right.
get businesses to come, give them incentives to come, but at the same time demand from them that in exchange for those incentives, they will hire Oakland residents, particularly young people, and train them and give them an opportunity to get ahead.
Absolutely. I think you're right. There should be a lot of training, a lot of programs for all. I mean, maybe some of them didn't have the chance to go to school when they were supposed to. Okay, so are we going to ignore them and just let them be because they had a chance but didn't go? But what they have available for them, even life happens, they're in bad situation, made bad choices, whatever it is. So if you're saying that people have second chances, what's out there for them for second chances? Why they want to make another crime just to go back? At least they have a roof over their head, because look at the homeless. I think the homeless rate is growing too.
Oh, it's really incredible.
So
just coming here to Alameda from Oakland and going through the
when I went
Webster,
through, I was like,
you know, it's like a little city that's developing under the freeway.
Under the freeway. Yeah, I looked at that and it kind of breaks your heart, and it's like, what is the city doing about the homeless? Do they even see it? You know.
I think they do their best to ignore it.
Very good at ignoring it, and unfortunately, and those are, you know, of course they're going to go into drugs. They're going to do whatever is out there for them, you know.
But, you know, some of the questions you raise are bigger than Oakland questions. You know, when you think about the fact that the United States is the largest economy, the richest country in the history of the entire world, right? And California, if it was its own country, would be the seventh largest economy in the world today. So why isn't there enough money to make sure that we don't have people living on the streets? Some type of housing and services, and, you know, people throw up their hands as though, well, it's a problem, we don't know how to fix it. There are even cities that you don't typically think about as being centers of progressive thought, like Salt Lake City, Utah. They have a model program to deal with homelessness, and because they provide people not just with housing, but with services, housing plus services. So if, you know, a person has a drug problem or a mental health problem or, lack of skills to get work.
Right.
It's all combined.
Right.
So this is your house, these are some programs, here's some training. The idea is to get you on your feet again.
Right. Giving the, not just saying that that's there, but actually hand it to them, guide them step by step, like an 18-month program. And then as soon as they're done with the roof over their head and food, and then some of the things to qualify, they have to be clean. And who doesn't want to be clean if they have? I mean, there's a percent of the people that probably choose not to, but at least those helps are available and it's out there for them to take advantage of.
Sure.
And for some reason, when I passed under the bridge right now, I forgot that I was in America. I was in the United States. I thought I was in a third world country for a second.
Right.
It was very, very sad. And almost I felt embarrassed. I'm like, look, where we live. And we, my family, we always, help and we send money to different countries. And I keep thinking that, look, it's right here, right under our nose. Well, thank you so much for watching the show. That was our 30 minutes.
That was quick. We could talk for hours.
So we gotta have you come back because it is close to election, and we like people to hear more of your thoughts on what's needed.
Okay.
So thank you so much.
All right,
and
nice
again,
having tea with you. And,
yes, thank you. And this was Tea Time with Olive.